Hey, what's up guys, Guardian here, coming to you guys with a deck profile today, going over my updated Majesty Lord Blaster deck. So yeah, it's been a good amount of time since I last profiled this deck on the channel, so I'm sure a lot of you are probably curious to what my current list is. Now unfortunately, the next time I was going to profile this, I was kind of hoping we would have gotten Blaster Blade The Vanguard by now, but quite clearly we're not going to get that card until 2025, so I thought might as well profile it now, and we'll do another update when the promo comes out. But speaking of promos, this deck does have some additional promos that it got given because you know, it's MLB. That's all it knows how to do is to get promos. So yeah, we're going to utilize these new cards and try and bring something different to the channel, and hope you guys give you something a bit different for MLB, and maybe give you some ideas as well, because I've been trying. And I think that should answer everything there. So yeah. Anyway, we'll go into the deck. So for the ride line, of course, it's the typical suspects of Wingull, Merrin, Blaster Blade, and MLB. Stick with Blade, obviously, in the ride line. I always like to say this, but I always stick to Blade in the ride line because I want Merrin to get Dark to my hand, because I consistently want to make sure I get both the Blasters for MLB, because if you're not, you're going to have a bad time. So, yeah. Also, spot removal or a draw for Blaster Blade is not too bad, and if Merrin does end up whiffing, it means that you do get the Wingull that you can call, which Blaster Dark can actually utilize to, kill the Wingull and then maybe spot remove something on the opponent's field, whilst also giving Blaster Dark the extra 5k power, which can sometimes come up if you go second, because obviously your opponent's already a grade 3, so you need to make sure that that Blaster Dark can hit if you don't have a booster available. So yeah. That is it for the ride line. So going into the main deck here, we are playing the 3 extra copies of MLB, obviously for the Persona ride. Yeah, don't really need to explain this. But to go alongside this, I did decide to put in a new Regalius piece. I got the 1 copy of Caliburn. So I went for Caliburn just because I felt like with this deck, you really just want to have more ways of generating card advantage, since it's really difficult for this deck to keep up now, because we're still working with a 15k base. So obviously Blaster Blade The Vanguard, that makes MLB into a 20k base, which makes things a lot easier. But with this deck, we kind of just need to like make sure we're hitting our pieces and just attacking as much as we can, to like rush the opponent and make the crits from the MLB just more pressurizing, basically. And then in really awkward situations, the counter charge and sword charge can sometimes come up, but I'll be completely honest, it doesn't. Like, I haven't used it once. I always use this to draw 2 cards. So, yeah. So that's it for the grade 3s. So we'll move on over to the grade 2s. Pretty straightforward initially. We are playing our 4 Blaster Darks. Nice thing with him is that he gets 5k power whenever we retire one of our own rear guards, and there's actually some new synergies with this in the deck now with one of the promo cards. So yeah, but alongside him, of course, we have the 3 copies of Blaster Blade. We still need to stick to 3 of this in the deck for the time being. I might drop them to 2 when the Blaster Blade The Vanguard comes out, but 3 is necessary for us to do the multi-attack on turn 3, because we need to make sure that we've got an extra copy of Blaster Blade that we can call out with Cordyla, basically, because the idea is that we're going to be boosting it with a 13k so that it can then hit over a defensive if the opponent gets one. So it's kind of like making sure that you're reassuring that the attacks can hit and get over a defensive, because before we didn't really have the benefit of having good boosters to go alongside them until we get the Cordyla down. But we only got the boost if the opponent was already at grade 3, so that was the awkward bit. So yeah, so 3 Blade for now, but we may end up changing that in the future. But he's still alright, the removal side of him can come up, and putting him to Soul to then spot removal MLB is also good. So yeah, and then to go alongside the Blasters, since it's pretty much an honorary Blaster in this deck, is the 4 Emmeline, which, yeah. I've got a love-hate relationship with this card because the power side of it is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but my god, because we only have, the MLBs, the Darks, and the Blades in the deck that are Blaster targets, you will sometimes Soul Blast 1 and get nothing, and you're going to have to put up with it, because, a top 5 check for consistency purposes is still good, don't get me wrong. I'd rather have that than nothing, but my god, does it sting and does it hurt when you Soul Blast 1, get nothing, and then you just have to continue your turn. So yeah, Emmeline is still good though. Obviously helps in the early game rush, and it's just good for power overall. So of course we're still playing that. So that's it for them. And then for the final few grade 2s, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So I was trying to get cute here, and well, pun not intended. Literally not intended. I'm playing 2 copies of Spiral Cutie Angel and 2 copies of Azure Sky from Festival Collection. So the reason I went for these was because I felt like Biscotti, as good as it is for like discarding and using energy, it's a little bit awkward because Biscotti in the late game really is like, it helps fill board up, which is fine when we're looking for stuff, but the Spiral Cutie gets stuff to your hand, which I prioritize more in this deck. Because like I said, one thing I struggle with in this deck is just generating pluses. And building board is nice and all, but when you've already got a board presence, it doesn't really do much. And then, yeah, sure, you can like guard with the Biscottis and then get a card draw. That's fine. But honestly, I feel like the spirals are a bit better right now, just because the extra add to your hand when you call it to rear is pretty good. And also stacking is quite valuable as well for this card to help see triggers to then promote like the idea of like going for a lethal shot, basically. And now the Azure Sky, this was an interesting pick. I actually saw someone else play this, and I tested it out myself. It's actually pretty cool. So basically, you can counterblast to resurrect a grade 2 in your drop. It also has the effect to get an order back, but you're not doing that in this deck. But the idea with this is that you can resurrect any of your grade 2, so whether that's Blaster Dark, Blaster Blade, or more importantly, this thing. Because this thing likes to die. It's not that I can help it sometimes, you know, sometimes the opponent just attacks into it with a big number, and I just don't want to neg, you know, loads of cards out my hand. So sometimes Emmelines just get killed, and it's really nice to be able to not only bring the cards back with the Sapphire, but then also there are situations where the right deck can be a little bit awkward with the discards, because there are so many combo pieces in this deck that you need to like facilitate your field. It's nice and assuring to know that you can discard a copy of Blaster Dark, knowing that you can resurrect it with this to then set up your turn 3, basically. So it's kind of strange, but honestly, try it out. Now I say that, but I also realize that this card like doubled in price recently. So if you don't have access to these, maybe just put some more cyclers in the deck, I guess. Just fill the void. But I thought I'd show you guys this card because I thought it was an interesting pick. So I've tried it out and it's not too bad overall. So yeah, resurrecting those Emmelines can be pretty useful at times to get some more pressure going. Alright, so for the grade 1s, we are playing, of course, 4 copies of Cordyla, because this is the only way we're going to be multi-attacking in this deck. I wish this card was searchable, but because it isn't, we kind of just have to play 4 of them and hope we draw into one. So, yeah. Now, these following cards, these ones were hard to choose, but I decided to go with 3 copies of Ordeal Dragon and 3 copies of Saragon. Where is he? There he is. 3 copies of Saragon. So, the reason for this lineup in particular is because with the Ordeal Dragon, this gets better when Blaster Blade The Vanguard comes out, but in this deck, you really want to use this to just try and get to your Persona rides, because a top 7 check is really, really good, and if you don't have your Persona ride set up, you're going to be lacking way, way behind. So that's one thing. But if you miss with this, it feels bad, because you put this into Soul, check top 7 for a Blaster, and yeah, hope you get one, because if you don't, you're just going to neg one for no reason. So, yeah, but the nice thing is that when Blade and Dark's in the soul with this, it becomes a 13k booster, or attacker, because this skill does also work when it attacks as well, so that is also worth knowing. But yeah, I decided to land on 3 of them for now. I don't know whether I'll bump this up to 4 in the future or not, I'm not sure, but it's definitely at minimum a 3 of, I think, just for consistency, and also the 13k boost is nice. But I am still playing some Saragons in here, because with this, it actually synergizes with Blaster Dark, funnily enough, because since it retires itself, this will get an extra 5k power, which means you can actually make better columns of this, for like your multi-attacks. But then also, it comes back to the idea with the Spiral Cutie with this card, is that this refills your hand, and that's kind of the point with this card, is it's a 13k booster in a health refill hand, so I like playing it, so yeah. Because also this helps you get to this, so that's kind of like the logic with that. And then for some other grade ones, we of course have the 1 copy of Topaz. I say of course, but the reason I'm playing it is because it's a 20k shield, honestly, just so I can guard bigger attacks. But the other thing is that this card is also just nice for filtering. It's a top 5 check to call something, so that's also pretty good if you're looking for a specific piece. So that's pretty handy. And then the final grade one, really, I could just put it down here, is 4 copies of the Perfect Guards, Elementaria, and then 4 regular PGs. So that's it for those. So moving swiftly on over to the triggers, we are playing the yellow OT for the over trigger. The reason I'm going for this is because I like drawing cards. I don't know if I've made that clear yet. I love drawing cards, especially for a deck that's like behind like this one is. Yellow OT is a lifesaver sometimes, especially in combination with like the blasters, because you got to imagine when you're killing stuff with where is he? Where is he gone? Come here. So Blaster Blade synergizes perfectly with this thing because you can use Blaster Blade to kill stuff and then put them in Soul with MLB to kill more stuff. And then because your opponent's got more circles open, you will inherently just draw more through this. So you'll draw more cards and then you'll like just board wipe them as well. So it helps you like catch up basically. Like this is the perfect definition of like the over trigger helping you catch up basically. So yeah. But alongside that, we do play our 8 crits. I'm not doing the skill crit because it never comes up in this deck. Not playing like a major amount of soul blasting in this deck, and also the Ordeal Dragon kind of helps you with that anyway, because this goes into the soul. So if you need it for like, you know, maybe if you soul blaster for like Spiral Cutie at one point, and then you need soul for like Emmeline's, you're completely fine with this in the deck. Like this helps you with the soul problems anyway, so that's gooch. But yeah, 8 crit. You could play the blue OT to go for like 9 crit if you wanted to like recycle like Persona rides maybe, but like I said, I feel like the yellow OT right now is just the most preferable one for me right now. So, saying that, we do have more draw with some draw triggers, so 3 draw triggers and then 4 heal triggers as well. Keeping it simple. Interesting thing with the draws though is that the only reason we're doing this for now is because of just getting pieces. But I have noticed with Blaster Blade The Vanguard, when that comes out, front triggers will become really, really good. Because we can generate the 4th attack through the Vanguard instead of the Reguard swing with the Cordyla. Which means we can actually afford to play front triggers now to power the front row up. And then also have the 20k shield. Because, you know, if you have a 20k base Vanguard and you guard with a 20k shield, that's 40k. That's a really big number. And that can guard a lot of attacks. So, yeah, we can't do that yet, though. So, draw triggers it is. Yeah. Again, I don't know if I've mentioned it. I like drawing cards in this deck when and where I can. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This went a lot quicker than I thought it was going to, but I mean, it's repeating the same old stuff, basically. It's just the same blaster stuff that you all know and love, you know, with Emmeline and all this. But we've got the nice additions of Ordeal Dragon now, and also other cards like the Saragon, which is very handy. Like I said, the Ordeal Dragon's really good. And yeah, I just tried out some new cards with like the Azura Sky. I felt like this worked pretty well in the deck. So yeah, give this a try if you haven't already. But yeah, honestly, these grade 1s though, these were a god save. Because basically, if you don't know, I'll show you very, very quickly whilst I think of it. So we need, where is she? Where's Cordyla? I need to show you how the multi-attack in this works now, because before it was a lot more awkward. So we need one of these, and preferably we need like a Blaster Blade. So, I'll just move the ride line up the way so I'm not making things a bit awkward here. So basically the way this works is you need your Cordyla out, and basically before the issue was when you were calling like the spare blaster, like you'd put a spare Blaster Blade down, put this into your soul, and then call it back out with the Cordyla right after it boosts. But the problem is that these are vanilla, like these are 10k vanillas, like these are not good multi-attackers. So we needed like a good grade 1 to help facilitate these to get big enough so that we could like get over a defensive trigger. So 13k's are really, really good. But then also a nice trick is if you prepare one of these in the back row, if you're afraid of like multiple defensives, remember that the power from MLB when you get the triggers can also be given to the booster. So that can then make this a bit more secure if you haven't like Persona rolled that turn or something, right? So yeah, it's things like that you kind of just need to like be aware of with this deck. But besides from that though, it's nice to be able to do like a multi-attack on the turn 3 a bit easier. But this deck still needs help. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a real challenge to like try and build this deck and make it feel good when everything else around it just seems to be doing so much more, and it's just annoying. Because like I said, we get treated really badly with just getting promos all the time for this deck, and the deck still feels mid. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be using this deck in the near future until we get some like major changes for it. But in the meantime, it is still fun. Like as much as I've been of a downer with this deck, it is still fun to be able to play MLB with like Blaster Blade, Blaster Dark, and all this. Um, but yeah, it's just tough, man. I think any of you can like emphasize with this is like when you have like a pet deck that you really like and just are a big fan of, but it's difficult to like bring it to like modern games. It's difficult. But anyway, I'll stop blabbing because yeah, the video's gone on long enough. Hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. Deck log will be in the description as always, and I will catch you guys in the next video. So like always, take care. This is Guardian, signing out.